One of the hardest things to do when someone disrespects you is not to fire back. It's human nature. Somebody raises their voice, and you feel your own voice wanting to rise with it. Somebody takes a shot at you, and your mind instantly prepares a comeback. It's instinct, it's survival, it's ego. But here's the truth: when you meet disrespect with the same disrespect, you lose twice. You lose your composure, and you lose control of the moment. Think about it. Disrespect is a game, it's bait. It's designed to pull you in, to get a rise out of you. The person disrespecting you isn't always doing it because they're stronger or smarter. Most of the time, they're doing it because they're insecure, frustrated, or simply lacking self-control. And when you mirror their behavior, you hand them exactly what they wanted. You let them set the tone. But here's the shift: you don't have to play that game. The person who keeps their cool is the one who really holds the power. That's the paradox of respect. It doesn't come from demanding it, it comes from demonstrating it. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to argue to prove a point. When you show calm authority, people notice. Even the disrespectful ones. They may not admit it, but they feel it. Let me put it this way. Every interaction is like a stage. There's energy in the room, and everyone is watching, even if it's just the people involved. If someone disrespects you in front of others, all eyes shift to see how you'll respond. Do you lose your balance and react emotionally? Or do you stand steady, calm, measured? Because that moment tells everyone in the room who really has control. And I'll tell you something, control is respect in action. Psychologists talk about emotional regulation, the ability to feel an emotion without being run by it. It's not about suppressing what you feel. You can feel angry, you can feel hurt, you can feel offended, but you don't let those feelings dictate your actions. That's maturity. That's strength. Because the loudest person isn't the strongest, the calmest person is. Now, I know what some of you are thinking: if I don't push back, won't they think I'm weak? No, not if you do it the right way. See, staying calm doesn't mean being passive. It's not about letting someone walk all over you. It's about choosing how you show up. You can respond without matching their disrespect. You can set the boundary, call out the behavior, or even disengage, but all without lowering your standard. And that's the key. You never let someone else's lack of respect pull you out of character. It reminds me of something Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, once wrote: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Disrespect is an outside event. You can't always stop it from happening, but you can control your response. And the person who controls their response always has the upper hand, because they're not being dragged around by someone else's emotions. Picture this: you're at work, and a coworker snaps at you in front of everyone. You feel that sting, that heat in your chest, the urge to snap back. But instead, you pause, you take a breath, and you respond calmly: "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. Let's talk when you're ready to have a respectful conversation." Do you know what happens in that moment? The power shifts. You've shown that their disrespect can't shake you. You've set the tone. And everyone watching sees that. Or imagine in your personal life, maybe it's a family member or a partner who's being sarcastic or dismissive. You could get defensive, throw their words back at them, or escalate the conflict. But instead, you choose to stay grounded. You calmly say, "I'm not going to argue with you like this. If you want to talk respectfully, I'm here." That's not weakness. That's authority. That's self-respect in action. And here's the deeper truth: when you don't match disrespect, you're not just teaching others how to treat you, you're also teaching yourself. Every time you stay calm, you reinforce to yourself that you are in control, not your emotions, not the other person's behavior. You're building a kind of inner respect, a quiet confidence that doesn't need validation from anyone else. That's what makes you unshakable. Think of it like martial arts. The best fighters don't waste energy swinging wildly. They conserve their energy, they wait. They strike with precision. In life, it's the same. You don't waste your energy on every jab of disrespect. You hold steady, you protect your ground, and you act with intention. That's how you win, not by matching their chaos, but by staying in control of your own. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. It's not. It takes practice. It takes discipline. It takes catching yourself in the heat of the moment and asking, what's the win here? Do I win by clapping back, or do I win by showing I can't be rattled? And when you start to make that shift, you'll notice something powerful. People begin to treat you differently. Not because you demanded respect, but because you embodied it. Disrespect thrives on reaction. It feeds off drama. But when you refuse to give it fuel, it burns out. The person being disrespectful is left holding their own fire, and you're standing there, calm and steady, untouched by the flames. That's how you set the tone. And here's what I want you to take away. Every time you choose composure over reaction, you raise the standard, not just for how others treat you, but for how you treat yourself. Disrespect doesn't define you. Your response does. And when you refuse to match disrespect, you prove something undeniable. That the strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need to shout to be heard. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember this: the real victory isn't in clapping back. The real victory is in showing them that their behavior has no power over you. And when you do that, you don't just protect your respect, you earn it. If staying calm when disrespected is about holding your ground, then protecting your boundaries is about drawing the line. And this is where a lot of people stumble, not because they don't know what their boundaries are, but because they feel guilty for enforcing them. We've been conditioned to believe that saying no is rude, that standing firm is selfish, and that we somehow owe everyone an explanation for why we won't tolerate certain behavior. But here's the truth: boundaries are not selfish. Boundaries are self-respect in practice. Think about it. Every time you let someone cross your line without saying anything, you're not just allowing their disrespect, you're silently approving it. You're training them that this behavior is okay. And the human brain learns fast. If you let someone push once, they'll push again. If you let them talk down to you today, they'll try tomorrow. Boundaries aren't about building walls to keep people out. They're about building guardrails to protect your dignity. Now, here's the mistake people make. They think setting boundaries means arguing, explaining, or over-justifying themselves. But the more you explain, the more you invite debate. Boundaries don't require debate, they require clarity. You don't need to write an essay to justify why you won't accept being yelled at. You don't need to list 10 reasons why you won't tolerate sarcasm, belittling, or manipulation. A boundary is not an invitation for negotiation. It's a statement of fact. And this is where the real strength shows, because you can set a boundary without raising your voice. You can draw the line without anger. Boundaries are most effective when they're delivered calmly, firmly, and consistently. Imagine this: someone insults you, trying to provoke a reaction. Instead of snapping back or explaining why it hurt, you simply say, "I don't accept being spoken to that way." And then you hold that line. That's simple, that clear, that powerful. It works the same in personal relationships. Maybe you have a friend who constantly cancels last minute, or a family member who uses guilt to get their way. You don't need to argue or plead. You calmly say, "If this keeps happening, I'm going to step back from making plans." That's not cruelty, it's clarity. It's saying, "This is how I expect to be treated, and I respect myself enough not to settle for less." And here's where the psychology comes in. People who disrespect you will often test your boundaries not once, not twice, but repeatedly. They want to see if you're serious. They want to see if your words match your actions. If you back down the moment they push, your boundary collapses. But if you stay consistent, if your actions align with your words, they'll eventually realize there's no room to negotiate. Boundaries only work when they're enforced. Now, some people will say, "But what if they get angry when I set a boundary?" That's the whole point. Their reaction is not your responsibility. If someone gets angry at you for protecting your dignity, that anger is proof of why the boundary was necessary in the first place. Respectful people don't get offended by boundaries. They honor them. Disrespectful people resist because boundaries strip away their power. But that resistance is temporary. Once they realize you won't move, they either adjust or remove themselves. Either outcome is a win for you. Let's bring in a deeper layer here. Boundaries are not only about how you handle others, they're also about how you handle yourself. Because every time you fail to enforce a boundary, you send yourself a message: my comfort doesn't matter, my peace doesn't matter, my respect doesn't matter. And that internal message eats away at your confidence. But when you enforce a boundary, even when it's hard, you send yourself the opposite message: I matter, my peace matters, my respect matters. That builds self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of self-respect. Philosophers and psychologists agree on this point: clarity is freedom. When you're unclear with others, you live in constant frustration. When you're unclear with yourself, you live in constant conflict. Boundaries give you clarity. They draw the line between what you will accept and what you will not. And once you know where that line is, every decision becomes easier. You no longer waste energy wondering, should I tolerate this? The answer is already written in your boundary. Let's put it in real-life terms. You're at work, and your boss constantly drops last-minute tasks on you right before the weekend. Without boundaries, you feel stuck, frustrated but silent. With boundaries, you say, I can take this on, but only if it's assigned before Thursday. Otherwise, it'll have to wait until Monday. That's not disrespectful. That's professional. That's honoring your time. Or in your personal life, maybe you have a partner who jokes at your expense in social settings. Without boundaries, you laugh it off while resenting them inside. With boundaries, you calmly say afterward, I don't appreciate being made the punchline in front of others. If it continues, I'll step away from those situations. You're not attacking, you're not escalating, you're being clear. And clarity is power. Here's what makes boundaries so powerful: they shift the dynamic. Instead of reacting to someone else's behavior, you're defining the rules of engagement. You're saying, this is how I expect to be treated. If you can't meet that, I'll adjust my distance. That's not controlling the other person, it's controlling yourself. And that's all you can ever control. But let me be real, boundaries aren't easy. Especially if you've gone years without setting them. People might be shocked. They might push back. They might accuse you of changing. But that's exactly what's happening. You are changing, you're growing. You're refusing to accept less than respect. And the people who truly value you will adjust. The ones who don't, they'll fall away. And as painful as that might feel, it's actually a gift. Because boundaries don't just protect you from disrespect, they filter out the people who were never going to respect you in the first place. So remember this: every time you enforce a boundary, you're sending a signal to the world, yes, but more importantly, to yourself. You're saying, I will not trade my self-respect for temporary peace. I will not explain my worth to those who refuse to see it. I will stand on my line calmly and firmly, because that line is where my dignity lives. Boundaries don't need to be loud. They don't need to be dramatic. They don't even need to be explained. They just need to be lived. And once you start living them, you'll notice something powerful. People begin to treat you with the same respect you show yourself. So the next time someone disrespects you, don't just stay calm. Draw the line. Protect your boundary. And do it without apology, without over-explaining, without guilt. Because the moment you do, you'll realize that boundaries are not walls, they are doors. Doors that close to keep disrespect out, and doors that open to let respect in. And here's the bottom line: when you protect your boundaries, you protect your peace. And there is no greater form of respect than that.